Hey there everybody, I'm Crunchy Scott, and today we are talking about 80s pop princess Debbie Gibson and her new updated version of her 80s hit Lost in Your Eyes. I saw this music video on my YouTube feed just the other day and I was really excited because it was one of my favorite songs of Debbie Gibson's back in the 80s, so I thought I'd share my thoughts on this song with you. And of course, as a true 80s archaeologist, I have to do a little bit of a rewind and we'll talk about the original version that came out way back in 1989, if you can even believe it. And of course, I will rate the new version 1 to 5 mixtapes, 5 mixtapes being totally awesome, and 1 mixtape being, what was a good term in the 80s for something that sucked? Oh, well, probably just sucked. 1 mixtape will be totally sucked. So for those of you who came here for the normal stuff on my channel, and by normal I mean 80s inspired, retro inspired vegan recipes, I actually already do have a Debbie Gibson inspired recipe here on my channel. It's my Only in My Dreamsicle float and it is really delicious. It's cold and refreshing and kind of perfect for this heat wave that we're all going through right now. So I'll post the link to that video down below so you can head over there. Another cool thing that's part of that video is I talk about the first time I met, the only time I ever met the pop princess herself. And actually, she wasn't really a pop princess when I met her. She was more like a pop duchess, but it was still really cool to meet Debbie Gibson. Okay, my float is ready. Now let's start in 2021 and then go back to the 80s. Right out of the gate, no beating around the bush, I really love this new updated version of Lost in Your Eyes. I mean, it is such a good song. It's a duet, and the duet is with New Kids on the Block's Joey McIntyre. And when I heard the song, the new updated version, I kind of thought, oh my gosh, why wasn't this always a duet? Because it really seems like a song that's meant to be sung by 2 lovebirds. Now, I guess the whole song came to be because they were doing the duet on the 80s Mix Tour a few years ago, pre-COVID for sure, and it became a fan favorite, so they decided to record it. I should not be drinking this at like 10 o'clock at night when I'm shooting this, but anyways. So, I did not see the mixtape tour. I feel like I was supposed to go, but something work-related happened. I can't quite remember because it was a few years ago. But I have seen New Kids on the Block in concert, just a few years ago, as a matter of fact. In my opinion, Joey McIntyre's abs were the true star of that show. However, with that said, he does have a beautiful voice, and that really comes through in this duet for sure. It's just such a nice produced version of this song. It's not overly produced, I mean. It's still got that updated vibe, but the lyrics are still that nice bubblegummy stuff that we all loved back in the 80s. I did see Debbie Gibson talk about the producer of the new version, and she said he's something like 19 years old, which sounds nuts, but you gotta remember Debbie Gibson herself was only 18 when she wrote and produced the song in 1989. Before I rate the 2021 version of Lost in Your Eyes, we got to do a little bit of a rewind and go back to 1989 when the original version was released. Now, for those of you who don't remember, which if you're an 80s kid, of course you remember this, but Lost in Your Eyes was part of Debbie Gibson's Electric Youth album, which was a huge album back then. And keep in mind, Debbie Gibson was pretty much a powerhouse back then. She was always on MTV, she was always on the radio, and she was producing music. She was writing and producing her own music that was going to the top of the charts before she was even out of high school. This was extremely impressive, especially for a teenager like myself, who Debbie Gibson was pretty much my own age. I did scour a lot of old interviews with Debbie Gibson to see who might have been the inspiration for her song Lost in Your Eyes. I was actually hoping to uncover like some forgotten romance that she might have had with Joey McIntyre back in the 80s, but I got nothing. And I did see an interview where she pretty much confessed she didn't have a lot of serious boyfriends in the 80s when she was a teenager. So she did tap into her friends' emotions a lot to kind of see what they were going through to write all of her songs. Either way, it is a very G-rated love song. I mean, it's total 80s pop, which is so nice and refreshing. I listened to it just the other day and I thought how nice it was. And I was like, God, if an 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old was writing that song today, they'd just probably be saying a lot of dirty words. I'm totally going to rate the new version, but I do think it's worth mentioning that obviously this song was recorded during the pandemic, and Debbie Gibson herself says that when she was recording the lyrics, she was suffering from COVID, so that's kind of sad, but glad she still was able to record. But clearly by the time they got around to shooting the music video, everybody was either healthy and vaccinated or whatever, because they're very together in the music video. It's one of those videos where, you know, they're standing at a mic and singing together and they're laughing together in the studio and making marks on the music. And you've seen that kind of music video before, kind of a behind the scenes look. But in any account, it is nice to just see singers who are doing duets like in the same room again. Goodbye, COVID. So 1 to 5 mixtapes, 5 mixtapes being totally awesome. You are not going to be shocked. 5 mixtapes from me. This is a flawless remake, and I'm a big critic when it comes to remakes, especially when they're done by the same artist. I've cringed way too many times when I've seen a song that I love updated in like a way that I just don't love. But this one is perfection. 5 mixtapes, 5 totally awesome mixtapes. But I'm going to post the new version down below. I'm also going to post the old version, and I really want to know what you think about both of them. 80s kids, do not forget to check out my delicious vegan only in my dreamsicle float. Like and subscribe to my channel if you love a good rewind like myself. Other than that, have a great day, and I will see you back here next time. I get lost in your eyes.